All right, now let's get into we have actually co-topics today, two very controversial subjects. So let's fasten your seatbelts, gang. The first one is, I guess the most prominent politician that has come out in favor of it is Kamala Harris, the vice president, but quite a few Democratic politicians in high office have proposed the legalization of prostitution. Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to another thrilling episode of the TomCast. I'm the Tominator, Tom Cherichello. Today is July 11th, 7-Eleven free Slurpees today, gang.
Yeah, and you didn't even get one.
I didn't get one yet.
Drinkless today.
Is that good till midnight? Drew Ryan is here. Hey, Drew.
What's going on, everybody?
Morgan Steffes. Hello, Morgan.
Hello.
They have to get me the free Slurpee. We got a few shout-outs to start us off. First is the residents of Texas that were hit by Hurricane Beryl. At one point, I think 3 million were without power. Now it's down to 1 million. So our hearts go out with them. And I think I've shared in the past, I specialize in hurricane claims. If anyone in Texas needs help with their insurance claim, Tominatorlaw.com.
How long you been working with an insurance, Tom? Again, with hurricane.
I've been doing insurance claims for like 36 years.
Really?
I started when I was 7. Now that's a joke. No, but I've been doing it a long time. Before I was an attorney, I was a claim adjuster and manager and regional manager. So I have a lot of experience handling
Stressful
insurance
times for people. That's good to know, man.
Next shout out goes to the heat wave. You notice that out west, like crazy temperatures. Like it's been like 120 in Vegas, like every day.
Wow.
Palm Springs, California.
I thought it was hot here.
124. And what's really crazy is Raleigh, North Carolina hit 106 last Sunday. Raleigh's like I think it's like kind of in a mountain area.
Yeah, it is. I've been there. It's very pleasant. That's surprising.
Portland, Oregon was 101, I think, last week.
Wow.
And I mean, that's like, northern. Portland's pretty far north. I mean, it's just crazy with some of these temperatures. Even New York City was in the 90s. So, everybody stay cool. Try to stay out of the heat.
Drink a lot of water.
Drink
H2O.
a lot of water. Yeah, that's fine. H2O.
Yeah. Bring on the fall.
Next shout out goes to Michael Bloomberg, the former mayor of New York City, multi-billionaire. He made a gift of $1 billion to the Johns Hopkins University Medical School. For those who don't know, Johns Hopkins is very elite medical. Well, it's a college and medical school in Baltimore, Maryland. I have actually been on the campus. So now, if your family makes under $300,000 a year, your medical school is free.
If you get in.
It's very difficult to get in.
How many people a year?
Their graduate program is a lot larger than their undergraduate. Mm-hmm. It's probably like maybe 25,000 graduate students going to Johns Hopkins.
Yeah. Wow, but that's awesome.
But
it's very generous.
Yeah. And
more of these wealthy people like Michael Bloomberg, I think, should start doing things like that. Mm-hmm. Make the world a better place.
I think it's great. And if your family makes under $175,000 a year, not only is your tuition free, but your living expenses are free.
Wow.
And
ahead, man.
Yeah, that's awesome.
I think the government wastes a lot of money on stupid stuff, in my opinion. But one thing is free tuition. I think that's great. It's not like you want the money to blow it. I mean, the people are trying to better themselves. I wish they had that when I was going to school, free tuition.
Yeah.
Maybe I can apply for it now.
I think it worked out for you just fine, Tom.
Couple follow-ups, stories from prior weeks. I guess the big thing still, President Biden is hanging in there. Joe does not want to drop out of the race.
Joe won't go. He's like, I am not going gently into that good night yet. I got a good deal on my White House I'm not
They have
leaving.
good health insurance, right?
Yeah, he's
Good retirement benefits.
Yeah, that's a crazy scene, Tom, man, isn't it?
Well, at this point, he's kind of in too deep. Like, he would probably be so humiliated to drop out because he'd always be known as that. That's the only reason. It's like, I'm in too deep. I can't go out now.
Well, they're
Standing
saying,
strong.
listen, George Clooney and all the Hollywood elites who are raised money for Biden, they really want him to go. Obama's, I guess, the guy that's catching the blame, saying, listen, they were getting calls from Obama. Listen, we got to get Joe out of there. We need somebody younger. He's not going to be able to last 4 years. So it's going to be interesting what happens. I mean, it is.
A couple Democratic senators have already, one Michael Bennett in Colorado and one in Vermont have called on him to, withdrawal.
Yeah.
So we'll see how that plays. I did watch, usually Friday night, I like to go to happy hour after work on Friday, but it was raining really hard where we live last Friday night, so I just went home and got Domino's.
Did you get the cheesy bread?
Not yet.
Tom, what?
I did use the gift card that Morgan gave me. Thank you,
did.
Morgan, for
Yeah.
the Domino's gift card.
It was meant for
very
cheesy
generous. But so I just hung out at home and rested up and watched. He was on ABC with George Stephanopoulos interviewed him. And it was like a 20-minute interview. It was like lame. I'm like, they didn't ask him any real. I just thought it was like kind of like a setup.
Yes. I think he got the questions ahead of time.
I don't know about that. So we'll see how that works out.
Definitely did a little better than the debate.
Baseball. The Major League Baseball All-Star Game is next Tuesday. National League versus the American League. When I was a kid, that was a huge deal, this All-Star Game.
Oh, yeah.
You got to see guys that never played against each other.
Right.
And I think two things that I don't care about the All-Star Game anymore. I'll tell you why. Interleague play, they never had it. When I was a kid, you never saw Pete Rose play against Nolan Ryan. Well, Nolan Ryan was in both leagues.
Yes.
But, or whatever. And also free agency. Pete Rose was a Cincinnati Red. So,
Yes, it's a good
now,
point.
Now players bounce around.
You don't know who the hell's where, yeah.
But a lot of the luster has been taken off that. It looks like, they haven't announced the starting pitchers yet. It may be interesting to see if
the Skeens guy. Pittsburgh, the rookie, he's amazing.
he's actually pitching today. After the podcast, I'm going to go watch it. Today's, I think you said 7-11.
Yeah.
The Pirates start at 1:15.
I hope this guy, so we talked, Tom. The guy won a national championship with LSU. He was the outstanding player in the College World Series. He was picked first, right? And now he's in the All-Star game. And he's also dating the girl Liv Dunn, the LSU gymnast. So this guy is winning all over the place.
She is beautiful, Olivia Dunn. I think they call her Livy. Or she calls her, that's her
She's
name.
a
That's a
big
cute
social
nickname.
media
But
star.
she's-
Morgan,
she's-
you're the social media.
I've never
person.
heard the name.
Yeah, she's
I don't
got-
follow
she-
sports.
She is,
I think 4 million TikTok and 2 million
Livy-
Instagram.
Livy Dunn.
yeah.
Olivia Dunn, Dunne. And obviously she's very flexible.
Hopefully our producer can pop a picture up of her, it's superimposed.
I've never
She's a
seen
pretty
this
girl.
girl. She's pretty, but I've never seen her face.
Yep.
She's getting a ton. We talked several episodes about this name, image, and likeness.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She's getting a ton.
Yes.
Right.
Because of all these followers. I need to
So
get
good
in
for
on
you,
it.
Paul Skeens.
So yeah, shout out to Paul Skeens. Keep it up, man. Living large.
Hey, can I give a shout out, Tom? There's a kid, and his name is Reese Hines. I call him a kid. He's a young man. Plays for the Cincinnati Reds. I got to meet Reese in Sarasota with some mutual friends. He got called up. He's been in the minors. He got called up the other day. 2 home runs in back-to-back days, 5 extra base hits. He sets a Major League Baseball record with that. So I did want to give a shout-out to Mr. Reese Hines, Cincinnati Reds. He is hitting bombs, 468 feet. So, Reese, go ahead.
I'll tell you, anything can happen, injuries or whatever, but the Cincinnati Reds are loaded with young talent.
Yeah, I know. It's fun to
that-
watch.
That's a team that could be seriously
Correct.
good very soon.
I think so.
So look out for the Cincinnati Reds in the next couple of years.
Yep.
Another shout out or follow up: the Wimbledon Tennis Championships are going on right now. Probably will end this weekend. Will end this weekend unless it rains. But Wimbledon is one of the big 4 major tennis championships: the Australian Open, the French Open, Wimbledon, and the U.S. Open. So in the men's, they play tomorrow the semifinals. So there's 4 guys left.
Now's the time to watch it, right?
Now it's time to watch it, and it's really good. It's Novak Djokovic, the Serbian, who's number 2 in the world, I believe. He's in the semifinals, and the other semifinal is Carlos Alcaraz, the Spanish player, against Medvedev, the Russian player. So they're
solid.
Those are great matches.
Absolutely.
And, with England being 6 hours ahead of us, like those matches will start early tomorrow morning. So like I'll probably get up early tomorrow and watch some tennis, while I'm doing my work, doing my important legal work for my clients.
Have some berries and cream. Was that what they eat in England?
Strawberries and cream.
Oh, yeah, right.
All right, so those matches should be pretty good. All right, now let's get into we have actually co-topics today, 2 very controversial subjects. So let's fasten your seatbelts, gang. The first one is, I guess the most prominent politician that has come out in favor of it is Kamala Harris, the vice president, but quite a few Democratic politicians in high office have proposed the legalization of prostitution. And there's arguments, hey, this is happening no matter what.
Yeah.
The government should tax this stuff and get some of the money.
Wow.
Also, it will reduce sex trafficking and also potentially reduce sexually transmitted diseases.
How would it reduce STDs?
Well, I guess the theory would be that like the government would control this, and like casinos are controlled by the government. Like whatever state you're in, they set the rules, make sure that the games are fair and that the casino pays taxes. Yeah. And there's a lot of regulation in the gaming industry, or anything the government controls, like whether it be alcohol, so now marijuana. So I don't know. I'm conflicted on this, guys. What do you think about this? Like,
I think it's a little degrading, but it's typical for those crazy Dems. First, it's open borders. Now it's open legs. I mean, what I think it's a horrible idea.
It's probably not the best idea, but I'm like, I don't like when people tell women what they can do with their body, right? And then it's like, well, what's the difference between you pay a female to massage your body versus you pay them to massage your... I'm not going to say it, but you know what I mean? Yeah. What's the difference? I'm not necessarily for it, but... Where's that line?
You can make good arguments on both sides.
Where you tell people what they can and can't do.
Like, think about how much law enforcement resources go into, like, cops or, undercover cops. Or now when they get arrested, you have to go to court, so you got to pay judges and court personnel and this and that. And then if they go to jail, you got to pay prisons. I'm conflicted. I'm like, one part of me thinks, do we really care that this happens?
People are doing it anyways. It's the same thing with drugs, right? Drugs should also probably be legal. Don't tell people what they can and can't do. But then, what about porn? Isn't porn legal? It's people getting paid to have sex.
I think kiddie porn is illegal. Like,
right. So, but my point is, what's the difference between adult porn, where they're paying these people to have sex with each other on camera, than paying someone to have sex with you off camera? I don't get what the difference is.
But some people argue that if it's legal, it's going to increase the amount of sex trafficking.
Increase sex trafficking?
Yeah, because like if it's legal, more women are going to be trafficked from other countries coming here and be legally.
I think it sets a very dangerous precedent. What kind of a world do you want to live in your country where little girls are growing up and they're selling their bodies to make money? I mean, listen, I know times are hard and inflation's bad and it's the oldest profession, but I just think at some point you've got to use a little bit of common sense and say, no, that's a bad idea.
Then what about strip clubs? It's women selling their bodies to make money. And they're completely nude, dancing on top of a man, right? So where do you draw that line? I'm not disagreeing.
Yeah.
But it's like, where does that line get drawn? It's all the same thing. It's women being exploited for their bodies to make money.
You're technically not having intercourse. So we think at those strip clubs.
Yeah.
But, again, sexually transmitted diseases, we just came out of COVID. Now you want to legalize,
it's tough because you're right. You don't want to raise young
That's
girls
a horrible
and even
idea.
men growing up to see that this is like
idea. We are the United States of America. We are not Amsterdam. We are not a third world country.
Yeah.
We're not Costa Rica. I think it's a horrible idea. And
Right.
it's typical Kamala. Crazy
I'm
Kamala.
shocked.
That is a crazy,
It's
crazy
legal.
I didn't
It's
even
legal in
hear
a lot
about
of the
this
world.
till you told me yesterday. I can't
Oh,
believe
man.
Kamala said yes.
Yeah, that's a
it's
vice
li-
president of the United
What was
States.
her reason?
I mean, that's
Well, I say
unbelievable to me.
you can tax it,
They want the money, but yeah, okay.
and also you're going to
Of course,
save.
that's all the greed is. Until she
Oh,
has a
man.
daughter that becomes a prostitute.
Well, we talked about
How would
not
she feel
good.
about that?
We
Then
had
she'd
our
change her
gambling
mind.
episodes
Yeah.
where, it used to be you had 2 states where you had casinos. Now you got like 40 something. So because the government's getting a piece of this action.
Yeah.
And all the sports leagues now you can gamble. They used to be against gambling on their games. Now they own a part of it.
Yeah.
I mean, same thing with this. The money's being spent, so the government might as well get some of it.
For sure, but don't you think then? I just don't see women that are going to go to these places where it's ran by the government. I think they're going to find an illegal way to do it so they can keep the money themselves. High-end escorts, right? They're
So,
going to do that
yes.
one-on-one transactions with the man who's really just paying their rent, and they have sex with him.
So
But
Nevada
you know what I mean? That's the
is
same
legal,
thing.
right? Legal prostitution in Nevada. The only state in the United
Not the
States.
entire state, but yes, a lot
Okay,
of it.
like the desert where the chicken ranch
yeah, they
is.
have them like
I read
several
about it.
counties.
So they're probably they want to monitor it like, you can go to this store on Bee Ridge and go and pay for sex. That's kind of how they want it to be, because I just feel like no one's going to do that. No one's going to say, oh, I work
That's
over
a
there.
crazy concept, but you know what? It
Come
doesn't
pay me, I'm
surprise me.
$500 an hour. They're going to go be
This
a
is
high-end
right out of
escort and get
right
the money
out of the
themselves.
movie Idiocracy.
Yeah.
Mike Judge, 2006. What else? What else you want to do, man?
Yeah.
You know,
Well, it's like-
prostitution, weed,
Some of the religious-
opioids.
Well, yeah.
I mean,
getting
what-
there soon.
It's just one thing after another. Like some people say, look, what's our society becoming where
Yeah.
like gambling's legal,
Yeah,
drugs
man.
are legal, now prostitution's gonna be legal. Is there like a moral decay?
Yes.
Yeah.
I don't want to say
Yes,
that.
that's
You're
exactly
right.
what it is.
So it's I'm conflicted about it. I think if it's done right, like they say that it will still be illegal to be a pimp or an agent or whatever you want to call it, because they don't want people controlling these women.
Okay.
It's just going to be the woman dealing directly.
So Huggy Bear won't be in there with a pimp outfit. I got it. Okay.
For those who don't know, Huggy Bear was a character on a 1970s television program called Starsky and Hutch.
Gotcha.
Antonio Fargas
Right.
was the actor that played Huggy
They're like
Bear.
independent contractors. That's what they want.
Well, it's also going to just promote cheating and make it so much
Yeah,
easier. Because
I
there's
think
going to be
so.
websites
It's-
where you go online,
Yes, bad
www.prostitute.com,
idea.
and you click one, and they show up to your office, and 20 minutes, and you go home to your wife.
Well,
Yeah.
there is
Which is gross.
one
You
argument
gotta-
against it is they say that guys who never would have frequented a prostitute before would now.
Right. Well, and
Because a lot of guys are still afraid of getting arrested.
Sure they are.
Well, and these young kids, right? Like these boys are growing up, and they're not gonna probably do it the natural way with a girl they meet or fall in love with. They're just going
Porn's
to have sex
already
with
messed
people.
everybody's heads up.
It
Let's be
has.
honest.
These young kids are
They don't know how to talk to women. They don't know how to.
they're losing their
hell, I haven't in
virginities
a long
later.
time either. But you know what? I got it in when I was young. But whatever. So this whole porn
Yeah.
industry, it's just our society is really screwed people's heads
Well,
up.
right. I think
We gotta-
young
cooler heads
boys
need
will
to
use
prevail
prostitutes
here.
rather than go and try to, date a girl and fall in love or whatever and do it that way. They're just going to hire someone to have sex with them. And how is that going to impact
You see that,
the younger population?
I love Jennifer Lawrence, by the way. If I haven't
She's
come,
great.
Did you see that movie? No Hard Feelings. It came
new?
out. I don't know if it was this year, maybe or the end of last year. But she lives on Long Island, like Eastern Long Island, and she's a bartender and an Uber driver. She has 2 jobs, and her mother dies. She inherits the mother's house, but she can't afford to pay the taxes because it's expensive.
Yeah.
So this kid is like a high school senior, he's like a nerdy kid, and his parents are rich. And the kid doesn't have a driver's license, so they want to set him up. They hire Jennifer Lawrence to be his girlfriend, to
I
date him.
heard about that movie.
It was a
it good?
comedy. It was good.
Yeah.
I liked it.
I'll watch it
I've seen it a couple times. She has a full nude scene in it too.
Oh, wow.
I was a little surprised by that. I was a little surprised. Not that I'm watching
I
it.
bet you paused on that.
Oh, I won't go there.
So that's an interesting topic, Tom.
Surprised me.
It's tough. Like I said, I don't like telling people what they can do with their bodies, but
Yeah,
at the
I hear
same
you.
time, I think
It's a
it
little
could have
sleazy.
a much larger negative impact on the world
so.
and women and how
It's not a
men
good look
act.
for little kids,
I
man,
think
knowing
it
that
could
that's going on.
and
I
a
got
lot
a
of
real
negative
problem with
impacts
that.
later on that we would end up seeing.
Correct.
Yeah.
Just go to Costa Rica.
Yeah. Or don't. Just make a woman want to have sex with you. How about that? How about take her to dinner and buy her a nice steak, and then she'll probably do it.
That's a novel concept.
Sure.
Wow. Drive the girl to dinner and buy her a meal. What a crazy concept.
So, like, there's good arguments to be made on both sides of that. Like, it's happening anyway. The government should get in on it.
It probably should.
They want a cut of everything.
Yeah.
What don't
literally
they want to have a cut of?
I know.
Jeez, they're the real mafia. Give me a break.
I know.
So, we'll see how that. I definitely.
Does Kamala have daughters?
I know she's married. I don't know.
Because I'm telling you,
That's a good question.
she'd
I don't
feel
think so.
differently about this if one of
Yeah,
her daughters
you're right.
grew up and became a prostitute. It
Yeah.
always, once it like directly impacts you, you change your opinion.
Yeah, no,
and if
that's a
she
good
had a
point,
daughter
Hannah.
that was legally
Yes.
a prostitute, she'd probably be very upset about it and say, I don't want this to be
Yeah.
legal anymore.
Listen, she's caught in that left wing part of the party right now where anything goes, and it's a little much. That's why the country is moving back to the middle,
Yeah.
in my opinion.
Men just need to stop being lazy. That's really where the problem is. It's men. I blame them.
We are dumb people.
Yeah.
That's true.
Agreed.
I think eventually, I don't know how long it's going to take, whether it's a year or 5 years or 10 years. I think probably sooner or later this will happen.
Yeah. You're right.
Unfortunately, but it just like I said,
Well, smoke him if you got him then.
where does it end? Like, what will be next? I mean, it's just like we're almost kind of going in reverse. And
Well,
so-
right.
Yes,
then drugs
it
are
is.
going to become legal, and
Right.
it'll just be free for all.
There are a lot
now
of people
you can kill
that-
people, right? Like,
Tuesday, November 5th. Mark it on your calendars. That's all I'm going to say, people. We don't want insanity. We've had enough of that shit.
All right, that's enough about prostitution for one day.
yeah.
Our next, our main topic, I guess, is there's tons of litigation going on, like thousands of lawsuits in various courts around the country related to what they refer to as the opioid crisis.
Like Oxycontin.
Like the big one is the major defendant is a company called Purdue Pharma. Like OxyContin, if you don't know, is a brand name for oxycodone.
Okay.
Like that's the brand. Like Band-Aid is a brand. or
Right.
Coca-Cola obviously is a
Kleenex
brand.
tissue.
Yeah, correct. So this company Purdue Pharma, it's been around for quite a long time. I mean, I think the company started in like probably the 1800s or early 1900s, but it was owned, I think, almost 100% by a wealthy family called the Sacklers, the Sackler family, and they started, marketing OxyContin in the 90s, and they sold it to physicians that this is not addictive. People got hooked like crazy.
Didn't they target poor, uneducated towns where there were minors as well? At least from what I had read, is how they kind of started.
I mean, it's heroin.
Yeah.
Let's face it, right?
And then,
They're highly addictive.
and then they got an FDA-approved label somehow saying this is not addictive, and they fucking knew it was addictive. And now it's like this mass problem that's just had this trickle-down effect.
Yeah, the
that's
doctors,
been
like
horrible.
we said last night, Tom, the real drug dealers in America are the doctors. They're doing us no favors.
No. There's someone hands them something and says, "Oh, it's FDA
That's
approved,"
right.
and then they give it to their patients, and we all know the FDA approved stuff is bullshit.
Right.
That's a very, a lot of FDA approvals are controversial.
Wasn't the COVID shot FDA
Like,
approved?
whether anything shady went on, underhanded, I don't know. But I believe, I don't know if it's still true, what the fastest drug to be approved by the FDA was? Because it's a lengthy process. I have a friend, very close friend of mine, shout out to Larry Carr, whose father, Big Al Carr, died this week. I would really shout out to Big Al Carr, R.I.P. But Larry was still is like a pharmaceutical attorney for many years, a guy from Jersey I'm friends with. And Larry used to tell me, like, the FDA approval process takes forever, like years.
Yeah.
You know what drug got approved the fastest? See if you can guess.
Oxycontin.
No.
No, a different one.
Is it a pain pill?
Think about it for a second.
A drug, like a prescription medicine.
Yeah.
Ozempic? I mean,
Viagra.
Oh my
These
God!
guys are like, yes,
It's
approved.
the men. They ruin everything. You guys are freaks.
They approved that stuff like right away.
God.
But
The little blue pill, it helps everyone involved, really.
Yeah, that's true. I will give you that.
so I'll tell you, like,
What do you think?
I think drugs are, I don't want to sound like an old guy, you know, but like, I think drugs are destroying our country.
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean,
no,
like,
that's fair.
I don't, like, my brother smoked pot from we were little young kids. He used to smoke pot, and like, but it's, you know, it's just a problem on so many levels, like with these drug addicts, you know, and people getting addicted on all this stuff. It's coming in from all over the place, or this Oxy, it was prescription, you know.
Well, and they claimed, like, you're in pain, you got injured, this is going to help your pain, right? Like, these families went in not, you know, to just be a pill popper. Like, they had a problem that needed to be solved. They trusted their doctor, and they promised them, oh, this isn't addictive. Look at the label. It's FDA approved. Yeah. And now they're addicted, and then their kid's dead, and it's just, it's horrible. It's disgusting.
There is one thing, you know, I will say years ago, about 20 years ago, I had a bunionectomy surgery.
Oh,
okay.
God, I heard those are awful.
Yeah, I had to have my broken, you know, my toe broken, and I have a pin in the foot. I have to work in orthotics, is what it is. Yeah. But obviously, for major surgeries, I was in excruciating pain, you know?
Yep.
So obviously, I got prescribed the hydrocodone, but let me tell you, and they worked. It was great. But let me tell you, trying to get off those after surgery, that is a challenge in itself,
too. For sure.
You know, so it's a slippery slope.
Yeah.
I mean,
and it really needs to be monitored.
Exactly. So let's face it, you know, hydrocodone or, you know, pain medication, it's needed after something like that. But trying to get the people off it, that's a challenge.
Right. It's scary.
I know people that it was prescribed to them for various injuries, they wouldn't take it because they were afraid.
Well, because now they know it's addictive, right? So it's a little different now, like flash forward from when this happened from the 90s, right? All right, you know it's addictive. You probably shouldn't let your 16-year-old take it or give them the whole pill bottle themselves if they had a surgery, right? You know that. We're smart enough now. We've seen what's happened. But at the beginning, no one knew, right?
Well,
did people know? It was this new
I think
prescription.
That's controversial. A lot of people believe they knew the whole time.
Who knew?
Like the manufacturer.
I'm not talking about that. I'm saying the people who were getting it prescribed, like they didn't know any better. Like, all right, this is probably addictive. Like now, you know.
People
so
buying it
if your
know.
kid now got surgery and a doctor gave that to them, you'd be like, all right, I know this shit's addictive. I'm going to make sure I hold the pills and I give it to my kid to make sure they don't get addicted. Back in the day, this was new. These families had no idea. So they probably just, you know, all right, I'm just going to keep popping it and it's no big deal because they told me it's not addictive.
But these lawsuits are going on, and like the argument being made is that the manufacturer, this company Purdue Pharma, controlled by the Sackler family at that time, you know, they knew. The argument is they knew that they were selling an addictive product.
Yep.
And you know what I want to compare it to is tobacco litigation. Like the tobacco companies knew for many years that their product was addictive, and for years, and it was put on. Do you know what year they started putting on the side of warning labels on cigarette packs?
No.
1966. But people still kept buying cigarettes and still to this day do.
The Surgeon General advises you that you could die.
Did it start off
That's
with,
okay, smoke
here's
it.
a cigarette and it's not addictive? Like, did they say this won't get
No, they
you
denied
addicted?
it for years. So, like, the early tobacco litigation, the tobacco companies, like, never lost a case for years. Because they would go in and say, listen, it's your free will. No one held a gun to your head and say, buy this crap.
Yeah.
So don't come crying to me now.
Right.
And then
I think that's fair.
And then and for years they never lost a case. They wouldn't settle any of them. They defended them, and then the floodgates opened up. They found out it was addictive. They found out tobacco companies knew it was addictive, and they didn't say anything. And now all these settlements where the tobacco companies had to pay out billions and billions of dollars to the states. So it's kind of the same thing with this, and they offered. So what they did was they bankrupted the company to try to avoid paying their lawsuits. And then they made an offer of $8.3 billion to settle all lawsuits and absolve the Sackler family of criminal liability, because you could argue what they did was criminal. So what happened was now the people getting the money said $8 billion, and the Sacklers would have walked away billionaires. So the people getting sounds like a lot, $8.3 billion. The people getting the money said, that's not enough. We're only getting like $40,000 each or whatever.
Right. Yeah.
So it went to court. The bankruptcy case went to the Supreme Court in 2023, and the Supreme Court, in a 5-4 votes, very close vote, said no, you can't get out of paying these people by declaring bankruptcy, because they wanted to use the corporate bankruptcy to protect them from paying these lawsuits. So it's still going on, like it's still being negotiated. So, and there's a rumor that the Sacklers hid a lot of their money in like offshore accounts,
Shocker,
so that they can't, that they don't lose all their fortune. In these lawsuits, but I think it's. Obviously I'm a lawyer. You could say I'm biased, but if you sell a dangerous product, like if say General Motors or Ford knew that a car was dangerous, said screw it, we're selling it anyway.
Yeah,
it's good comparison.
They should, they know that people are getting addicted to this stuff, and they're doing all. It's not only health issues, but it's messing with their health. They're committing crimes to get money to buy the stuff. I mean,
it's a huge. But so, like, didn't they use some bullshit study of the drug to submit to the FDA when they were trying to get it approved?
They always come up with. You can get a study that shows you that
but
I'm 7 feet tall.
They had some connection.
I'll find you a study.
Yeah. God, it's sad. I mean, it affected so many people. It wasn't like 10,000 people.
Yeah,
this is millions, and it's just now this ongoing problem, and people's family members died. Like this,
Yep.
It's
I can
just
see
awful.
why they, listen, we're talking about legalization to a large part of this, podcast. I mean, you're moving from opioids, people are going to find access to pain relief or stress
But at
relief
least
or
make
whatever.
it harder.
Marijuana is, obviously starting to become legal in
everywhere here.
most states. And, honestly, I don't really have a problem with the weed factor. I do have a problem with the opioids. Mm-hmm. If that's an answer, then I'm all for that. You know what I mean? Because it's basically proven that cannabis can, help people with pain and anxiety and all this stuff. But
when used correctly.
when used correctly, not some
Not
of that
just like
wacky stuff in Colorado where you take 25 gummies and go jump off a cliff.
Our whole country is now just about like numbing your body and not actually fixing what your issue is
Right.
yourself.
Band-Aids.
It's like, how can I put a Band-Aid on it? All right,
Now, you're right,
give me
hon.
weed, give me this drug, give me the booze. Like,
Give me Ozempic.
Give me Ozempic. Yeah, maybe just
Tell me when it's over.
Go on a run and eat a fucking green bean. How about that? Like, it's crazy.
right.
But then these pharmaceutical companies are pieces of shit, and all they care about is getting paid. And so they put these horrible things out there for you.
Yeah.
Just so they can get their money, and they don't actually think about what they're doing to
People
the
don't
world.
really realize what's in the pills, man. This is heroin. This is basically heroin in these oxys, and people love the Adderall. That's meth, man. That's meth. That's all it is, man. No wonder you could stay up 12 hours drinking 35 Bud Lights. That's not what Adderall was invented for, man. It's to focus.
They just want to medicate everyone.
I try to keep balanced. I mean, it's easy to bury these pharmaceutical companies and what have you, but on the other hand, like, no one's holding the gun to anyone's head saying, take this crap.
Yeah, I
No,
hear you.
but when you have a doctor, which we shouldn't trust them anymore after everything that's happened, but people still trust their doctors and they listen to them, and when they're saying, take this,
Yeah.
and then you
another
take it
issue.
and you're addicted, now what? You're like, I trusted my fucking
bunch of
doctor.
Heisenbergs.
Who can we trust? And I'm not smart enough to read into
I
this
think
shit.
the
And
doctors
like,
should be
I'm not
doing
a
some homework
scientist.
before they prescribe shit.
Right.
They
People
should,
are
but
too
they
trusting
don't.
in their doctors, and they should. You should be able to trust your doctors.
It's
But now we're
stressful.
starting to realize that
You
listen,
can't. They're not doing their due diligence either. But
Right.
like, I'm not intelligent enough to do that myself. How am I supposed to research a drug?
Right.
They don't give a fuck. And the doctors, they have quotas that they have to meet on certain like prescriptions and drugs and vaccines that they give out.
I'm sure they probably got lots of spiffs, trips,
Yeah.
gifts.
They're all evil fucking people. The ones that actually don't
all
read into
about
what
the
they're
Benjamins,
giving,
baby.
their
It's
patients
all
and they're
about the
profiting,
Benjamins.
They're pieces of shit, and they deserve to have their licenses revoked.
Right. I agree.
Shouldn't have
Like
brought
I
me
said,
on this
I'm
one.
really, like, you talk about if you could be like, if I could press a button and go back to any age, like, I mean, I wouldn't be 20 because I'm scared for the future. Like,
Yeah,
Morgan,
no.
you're gonna hopefully soon have a baby.
Oh, God.
Like,
Yeah.
in a year or
Coming
two, whatever.
into this crazy
Can't wait.
world, prostitutes
I'm
running around,
You're gonna
bullets
have
flying in
prostitutes
Chicago.
next door.
I know, right? Like, fuck that.
Well,
Yeah.
they said it won't be like
Yeah.
a-
Keep my kid
That's
on
not a
lockdown. I'm not
utopian
letting
society,
any doctor
man.
touch my baby. They're going to try to put a shot in it.
We won't
Hell
even get
no.
started about vaccinations and what they
Don't get
do.
me started.
Yeah.
That'll be another episode. I'll have my vaccination experts.
Help me figure out how I can send my kid to school without having any vaccines. That's what you need to figure out for me, Tom.
Homeschool.
Some interesting topics though today, Tom. Really, a lot more interesting than best TV dads and the 4th of July. I gotta say,
It was a more innocent time when I was a kid. Like,
Yeah.
the big thing was once a guy pulled a knife on me and my buddy at the schoolyard. That was like, holy cow! Now that's like nothing. That's like, my brother smoking his pot. That was like a major deal.
Right.
Oh my God.
Oh, God.
times are changing.
Yeah, it is getting worse though, and it is scary thinking about having
It
kids
is,
and
man.
like
And I think
what
if
the
you're,
world is going to be like.
People your age, you're young lady, and you're going to be having kids, and we're on the other side of 55. I can't
Yeah.
believe it. Where I do worry about the country, man. I do
sure.
worry about the abyss that we're flying, sailing into, and sometimes elections matter. People,
They do.
elections matter. That's all I'm gonna say. Figure it out.
There was a French philosopher, Voltaire, famous quote: "Common sense is not so common."
Yeah.
So, if anyone wants to, it sounds like a serious topic. I'm not trying to bore our viewers, but there are a lot of, interesting programs that you can watch about this whole Purdue Pharma thing. Mm-hmm. One is Crime of the Century, HBO. One is Dope Sick on Hulu, a series.
I've seen that one.
Excuse me. Netflix has Painkiller. A book, really good book for those who still read books, Empire of Pain. Really good book.
Are any of these documentaries? Is the first one on HBO?
I think Dope Sick is the documentary.
One of
Then
them.
there's another movie, All the Beauty and the Bloodshed, is a feature film. So there's a lot of stuff out there about this whole OxyContin crisis and,
Yep, scary times, man. The fentanyl thing is a scary thing. You don't know what these people are sneaking across the border, and you really got to use your common sense now with this, the drug epidemic.
And the vast majority of drugs, not the case with Oxy, but come from South America, Mexico,
Yeah.
South America. And, what's the answer there? Like, is it, obviously for many years, like the U.S. has been involved in military actions in the Middle East. I'm wondering, do we need to be involved in South America? Now some people would say, well, if no one here wanted it, these cartels would be out of business.
It's
Right.
true.
Like,
You're
no
Supply
right.
and demand.
So, who's to blame? If no one's buying it, you're out of business.
But if they made it legal, how would that work? Would that impact them?
Well, then
We'd be all
Well, I
looking
guess
like The Walking Dead and a bunch of zombies.
I don't know.
man.
Like
That's, I think.
the states
I
where
think it's
marijuana
not
is
good.
legal are the illegal? Is the drug dealer in the park out of business?
Well, yeah.
I
Most
mean,
of them.
is
I'm
it-
sure
is
there's
it-
still a few
yeah,
stragglers.
I don't know.
But why would you go to the shady guy in the corner when you can go to this place and it's probably a better?
I don't know.
marijuana.
I think it's cheaper with the drug dealer on the corner. I don't know.
All the friends I have that are weed smokers and were illegally smoking it before, they all go to the stores now. All of them.
It's probably better stuff.
I think it's better stuff. And they have more strains. Like, you know what I mean? Like, they can sit
Right.
there and talk to them about the different
Can I get the
type
peanut
of weed.
butter herb?
Yeah.
Can I get a cherry bomb?
I need to
But
get
you know what
sleepy.
I mean? Like,
I
so
want to get away.
They actually do. None of them want the illegal version of it because they're actually getting better stuff in the store. So it has to have knocked the dealers out.
These poor drug dealers.
Oh, I feel so bad for
They're
them.
out of business. I don't support that. But it's I'm really it's kind of scary.
Mm-hmm.
So these lawsuits are still out there. I mean, like, I'm talking thousands of them.
Yeah.
And it's going to be interesting to see, what this is going to do and what the resolution of this is going to be.
I don't think that family's ever going to go down. They should. I think they're pieces of shit, but they're never going to go down the way that they deserve to. It's just our world.
I don't think anybody's ever going to be holding a benefit for any member of the Sackler family. I mean, whatever the resolution is, I don't think they're going to go broke. Because that's people argue they should.
They
That they should lose every dime.
They should, because they profited from something they knew was, addicting the world to it. But
Well, you could
they're
argue,
gonna come out winning.
does it matter? Like, if you sell, like, a dangerous product, does it matter if you knew it was dangerous?
yeah.
Absolutely.
I mean, like,
Are you kidding?
You,
You
still,
have a
you still put it
moral-
out there. You still have a liability.
If I give you a drink and I know it has laxatives in it and it's going to make you shit and I didn't tell you, wouldn't you be pissed at me and be like,
Yeah,
what
but
the
even
fuck,
if you
Morgan?
didn't know, I'm still going to be pissed at you. You sold me this drink.
Well, if I didn't know, that's a little, but I'm saying, you're saying they probably knew what they were doing. They
No,
knew
but I would
they were
argue
giving,
they should be liable either way. You sold a dangerous product.
Yeah. Well, yeah, probably because they didn't do their due diligence on the research of something they were creating. Right? You're supposed to, when you're putting something out there, you test it, right? With cars, they test drive them. They do crashes. They do mock crashes to make sure that the airbags are working. If you're not doing that due diligence and you give it out and it kills people, well, yeah, you should be liable.
I'll tell you a little bit different. In the 70s, there used to be this compact car called a Ford Pinto. Little car.
Mm-hmm.
And what was happening when they got hit hard in the rear, in the gas tank, the cars would catch on fire.
Oh, yeah.
So people were suing.
I think that makes sense.
And you know what they found out?
What?
That Ford knew that this could happen, but it would have cost like $25 more a car. So they're like, well, let's figure out how many lawsuits we're going to get and what that's going to cost us.
They weighed the pros and cons.
They weighed the finances, and they said, screw it, it's cheaper to not fix the problem.
That's fucked up. That should not
That's fucked up.
be okay.
That is, I don't know the exact
Once again,
amounts.
instead of thinking of the people they're selling to as like humans, they're just thinking them as numbers and money in their pocket. So, if like a few people die, what it costs us to, if that's less money of what we'll have to pay those families for their dead family member versus what it
But I
is
have
to do
news
the
for
right
you,
thing,
that-
they don't care.
I
That
mean,
happens all the time.
They could make a car that's impossible for you to get killed in, but it would cost like way more.
How much?
Like, I mean, is it
How
it's-
unrealistic would
That's
it
just
be?
everything they weigh it out.
Yeah.
Like they could. We probably have the technology that you could eliminate fatalities in a motor vehicle
Yeah, you're right. I agree.
if they wanted to. You might get hurt, but you're not
Not
going to get
dead.
killed. But it would cost way more. And so no one will be able to afford to buy a car.
Maybe eventually they'd be able to get the cost down, but I still think they should give people the option to buy those cars.
You could buy a tank, going down the road in your tank.
Right on Main Street, rolling up to Smoking Joe's.
I don't know that. Like, if they get one to go fast enough on the interstate.
Well, then a lot of people will drunk drive because they'll be like, well, I can't die in this thing.
I don't know. We won't be able to drive if you get a drunk DUI.
True.
So it's really going to be interesting to close with both legalization of prostitution and the litigation over Oxy for short, OxyContin. What's going to happen? The crystal ball is on.
This has been going on for a long time, right?
Listen,
This lawsuit?
prostitution, man, I saw this on YouTube. You know, Tom, when the California gold rush happened in the mid-1800s, apparently 300,000 Americans traveled from the east and the south over to the west seeking their fame and fortune and, wanted their gold riches. And that's when these brothels apparently, became evident, and it's been going on a long time, but it's just I don't think that our country is ready to legalize prostitution. I
Yeah.
just don't. I think that's just taking it a bit too far. Plus, there's a lot of stiff competition. Pardon the pun.
All right. Well, guys, again, I appreciate you both being here today. We may have to edit that out.
Nah, keep it.
It's all right. We already took it to rated R level, Tom. I mean, we've been PG. Let's turn it up a notch. We can get some more ratings.
I agree. I love it.
All right, guy. I want to thank you both for being here today. Morgan.
Thank you.
Drew. Thanks. We'll see you next week.
See ya.